Today's March 1st, 2026. Current Bitcoin price is $65,970.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice.
How's it going, Rick?
Not too bad. How about yourself, Hans?
Oh, not too shabby, man. You ready for some March Madness? And we're not talking about basketball.
Yeah, I'm not talking about basketball either. No, yeah. This March Madness began in February.
Yeah. Were you shocked at all by the reports?
No.
I
mean, we've recorded a podcast on Sunday saying there probably was going to be something happening.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of like, it's not technically directly on topic, but I think it's always kind of interesting. They always talk about how, they've done this the first time they hit Iran back when, what was that, June?
Yeah.
They talked about sending somebody like some sort of an envoy over. And so, I mean, it always puts Iran on their back foot, like, oh, nothing's going to happen. And I think they had said that Marco Rubio was going to be the region, so more than likely there weren't going to be any attacks going on. It's like, oh, they did it again. I think they did it the first time they did something like that.
Yeah. Well, that bomber last time, I think, took off from, I don't know if it was Kansas or Missouri. It flew all the way around the world, basically, and then dropped bombs on Iran and on their nuclear facilities.
Yeah, and then came back home.
And came back home. I mean, it gets refueled a few times on the way there and the way back.
Yep. Yeah, that's a long flight, man. They were in and out of there. Nobody knew. Anyways, yeah, it's craziness, distractions, kind of what we were talking about before we actually started recording, for sure, is what it seems like. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. How are our theoreticals doing with this price action going on?
Well, price isn't too bad. I mean, it's kind of similar to last week, just a little bit lower. But theoretical buy number one, October 2023, if you would have had $3,000, you could have bought 0.0885 Bitcoin. And that $3,000 investment is now worth $5,838. So it's been steadily declining recently. The second theoretical purchase was at the halving, which is April 19th, 2024. If you had $1,000, you could have bought 0.01564 Bitcoin. And with the price today, that $1,000 investment is worth $1,032.
Yeah. So I think we were looking back on some of the previous prices that we've had on the more recent episodes that we've done. And it looks like we're not quite as low as what we were at the beginning of February, but I mean, we're definitely lower than what we were the last couple of times I think we recorded. So,
Yep.
We're in that sideways trading action. It can be boring for people if people are already either willing to give up their chips in a sense. They want to sell at a loss, or like, this thing's never moving again, whatever the case may be. It's chaos, man. That's all there is to it. Looking at the ETFs, it looks like we've still got a lot of red. Started to see some black coming out towards around the 24th of February, it looks like. We started to see some black days. Hopefully that'll continue. Looks like February 27th, it looks like that was a red day. And what made up because it was 32.7 million out of BlackRock, which isn't huge. That's fairly small, but there was only 3.3 million in positive from BTCD, and then 1.9 million. So that made it negative 27.5 million for the 27th. So yeah, ETF flows, maybe we're starting to stop see the red. I don't know, or it's going to continue tomorrow.
I think,
Go ahead. I think you're going to answer my question already. What were you going to say?
well, I think, we've seen the attacks that happened on Saturday morning, depending on where you're in the world. For us, it was like wee hours of Saturday. The Strait of Hormuz is going to be shut down, and that could really impact prices across the board on everything. And depending on how the markets take this, I think this can be the huge dump for all the markets, including Bitcoin. It's just hard to see how this is going to play out. But yeah, I think Monday, it can be pretty scary. If that strait is closed, then, a good chunk of the shipping has to be re-diverted. It's going to wreak havoc on prices everywhere.
Yeah, across the board. And people that may not think about that, but oil contributes so much to our costs because everything has got to be moved from one place to the other. So whatever you're thinking about that, your food in the grocery store, anything like that can be affected by oil prices. And right now we were kind of looking at oil at the start of the show. It's up 2.78%. Right now it's trading for $67.28 a barrel. Not high necessarily right now, but we'll have to see how the market reacts tomorrow morning once kind of everything comes online. There's a lot of that fog of war is really heavy right now. We don't know exactly how this is all going to play out. I think I've heard reports like up to 20% of all the oil in the world comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. So,
Yes.
That could be pretty impactful. I don't know how it's going to play tomorrow. That's going to be something worth keeping your eye on. So what was a piece of advice you're giving to people that may listen to this, if they're listening today as we have released this episode? Like, it may be too late if they listen to it later on in the week.
It's true. When the oil markets open up tomorrow, it could be pandemonium. So if you can, fill up your card today. Who knows what Monday's going to bring? If the cost of oil doubles, that's going to basically double to even potentially triple your cost to fuel up your tank. So good times.
Good times. Good times. Your idea of a good time and my idea of a good time are not the same. Bitcoin right now is caught in where we've been caught in this range bound activity for quite a while now. It looks like basically what we were looking at the end of January when we were in the 89,000 range. Is that where we were, I think?
Yeah.
So this month, we've pretty much done exactly what we thought we were going to do. We ping-ponged. So there's a lot of discussion right now, like, how's this going to happen? What's going to play out? Are we going to go up? Are we going to go down? Are we going to be, are we forming the bottom, right? I think that's a lot of people are asking that question. And I don't know. I don't think we are yet.
No. And that kind of goes with the mentality. When you see something like, all the headlines in the news is like, hey, we're forming this bottom, we're getting ready to take off. I usually think the opposite. And then if you go with the herd, you're going to lose 90% of the time. It's the people that go against the herd that are ahead of that curve. So if everyone's saying that we're forming a bottom, the bottom's not in yet. Hold on.
Especially when if we're truly in a winter. I think that's the big part of that, is that we've talked about this before. We've talked about it over the past few episodes, is that if we've truly entered the Bitcoin winter, which everything seems like we have, then you want to definitely take the contrarian view. If everybody's saying, oh, we've approached the bottom, we're forming a bottom pattern, more than likely, and this is coming from me. If for those of you that have listened to this podcast for any amount of time, I'm always the optimistic one on the show. And so it's, I don't know, it's interesting to see. We've talked about this where we keep on bouncing off these numbers. We can't break up above 70, we get down below 60, we get to 60, and then it kind of bounces back up and kind of stays. We're testing that range right now. Market analysts right now, they're talking about how Bitcoin is going to have a slight upward trend in March. They're saying that miners have capitulated. So usually that's a bullish inflection point for Bitcoin. There's a bunch of things that are adding to that narrative that we're in a bottom. And I think that's where you need to be cautious right now.
Yep. Well, I'm going to go with the contrarian path, and I'm going to say that, today is March 1st, where we're recording.
Yeah.
By April 1st, the price of Bitcoin will be significantly lower than it is right now.
Do you have any idea where you think it'll be?
I think it'll start heading for the $50,000 range. Or it might be that might even be the resistance for a little bit. So about 50,000 is where I expected at least to go. It could even go lower. But we're in the middle of the beginning of a war. So who knows how bad things could really get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And there's that could work in both accounts. You've got people in Iran for sure that maybe they want to try and leave the country, right? What's one of the things that they could do? They can buy Bitcoin if they have internet or if they have some sort of a phone connection. They can buy Bitcoin and then they can, obfuscate their wealth out of the country that way. What does that look like? Is that a possibility? There's a lot of different things that can happen. There's a lot of things that, are people going to be moving into Bitcoin and gold and silver? Like I would expect gold to rise tomorrow, along with silver possibly. Bitcoin, I don't know what it's going to do. If oil goes up, then gold's probably going up, is my guess.
Yep. Though if the markets go down, everything kind of goes down at first. It's just depending on how bad things get is where they diverge between commodities and then gold, Bitcoin. They could take a whole bunch of different directions after a certain amount of time. So, right, I don't know. This is, may you live in interesting times, right?
Yeah, well, they could stop anytime now. The SEC is looking to do a crypto reset. SEC chair Paul Atkins has admitted the U.S. has missed their chances on crypto. Basically, they've waited so long on regulations. We're still waiting on the Clarity Act to get passed through. I've heard different reports that it looks like hopefully by Easter, it'll be a done deal. We'll have to kind of see how that plays. And depending on what happens with the macro environment due to the war, will Bitcoin start to kind of rebound after that, which that would take us beyond March and into April whenever we're looking at something like that. And would that be enough time to get Bitcoin bottomed out and then we'd start to kind of do a slow rise back up?
I think that's possible. Yeah. If things could happen on the government side, it could make things a lot better, but I don't know. I'm not putting a whole lot of faith in our current administration or the Congress to get anything done.
Yeah,
they can get done attacks on Iran, but that's about it.
Well, let's be fair. They probably were not involved in that discussion. I don't know. It's yeah. Anyways,
well, there's some people there that knew what was coming.
Oh, for sure. Paul Atkins is saying that they're launching what they call Project Crypto to modernize the rules for cryptocurrencies within the SEC's traditional framework. Bitcoin is still holding where it's currently at. Like we've been range bound for basically the month. So we'll see. And it's funny. It doesn't feel like it's been a whole month, but I guess February is a short month. So the other piece of news that I wanted to kind of bring up was directly related to Iran. And it looks like Iran roughly runs 700,000 rigs currently. And they basically, they're able to get their electricity on the cheap in Iran. And so I think they're producing coins for around $1,800, $1,600 with how they're able to price their electricity. And so then they're able to sell it off at a hefty premium, which is allowing them to bypass the sanctions, which has been imposed on them in the United States. 95% of the rigs in Iran are considered illegal and are linked directly to the IRGC. So they're saying that we're looking at a 5% knockoff on the hash rate due to this, and it'll slow down the block times, where it's going to take 11 to 13 minutes until the difficulty adjusts, which it's basically typically 9 to 10 minutes, and that happens every 2 weeks. So that's going to spike fees and congestion whenever you get that drastic of a loss of hash rate on there. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, but I think that's kind of interesting how they were using Bitcoin to bypass sanctions. And I personally, I'm going to go on the limb and say, well, that's why we attacked them. Their hash rate. We're going after it, man. That's what
We're going after their hash rate.
It's my tinfoil hat.
Or they were able to bypass the SWIFT, regulations. It's just kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That's a lot of rigs, though.
That is a lot of rigs.
700,000?
700,000 rigs that they were running. And if it's 5% of the hash rate, like it's fairly noticeable, right? For a country that's roughly the size of, what is it, Alaska?
Yeah. Well, it's probably bigger than that. I mean, they say it's twice the size of Texas, so.
Okay. Yeah. So that's, to me, I think that's kind of interesting. It's obviously like, oh man, I wish I knew what tomorrow was going to bring. If I knew what tomorrow was going to bring, I'd be probably a rich man because I could make the plays ahead of time.
Yeah, you could short the appropriate things, or you can go long in other areas. I mean, that's kind of, I guess that's where the traders and all that stuff, this is where they get made or broken.
That's where they make their bread and butter. Speaking of traders, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a ghost story.
Okay.
So, Jane Street. We kind of talked about that beforehand, but you really weren't very familiar with them, right?
No. I've heard the name, but I wasn't really particularly familiar.
So the way the ETFs are set up in the United States, Jane Street is what they call an authorized participant for the Bitcoin ETFs. And so basically what that means is they're the ones that are working like as a third-party agent to buy and sell the underlying Bitcoin for the ETFs, primarily for IBIT.
Yep. So they're going, when the ETF purchases are made, they go and actually buy the actual Bitcoin.
Yeah, they're the ones that are actually going over the counter and making the purchases to make the ETFs actually whole. One of the things that's kind of interesting is that they don't function like a hedge fund traditionally, because they don't have to disclose what they actually do. And I'm not sure why they have a loophole within what they do. But there was a while there that it looked like every day at 10 a.m. Eastern time, right when the markets were opening, Bitcoin would dump. And so what their influencers out there are saying now, like this is just a viral, like I said, I'm going to call this a ghost story. There's no validity to this or anything else. The influencer claiming that this has suppressed the price of Bitcoin consistently because it kind of happened on a daily basis. So they were making, they were shorting it, and then they would buy it back up on the cheap, and they would already position their shorts ahead of time so that they would make the money on both sides of the trade, right? And then they'd buy it up, let it kind of go back up in price, and then short it again the following day. Now, what they're saying currently is that's why we've seen such a major drawdown because of the way that the Wall Street markets work themselves with the shorts. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and like a repeating cycle, right? Where you see those long pull downs and everything else that happen with that. Whenever you see short selling take place in the market, you're at 126,000 one day, and then a month later you're at 60,000, whatever the case may be, or a couple months later. So they're saying that, if it wasn't for Jane Street doing this kind of action, Bitcoin should be around 150,000 currently. Obviously, people just want to assign a boogeyman to what's going on with the Bitcoin price, in my opinion. And maybe there's some legitimacy to it. However, the thing that is interesting with Jane Street is that they've actually been banned from the India stock market for performing something very similar. And they got banned from China with their silver ETFs for doing something similar. I'm not saying they're doing it with Bitcoin, but that seems kind of coincidental.
Yeah. No. When we talked about the ETFs getting involved, I mean, it kind of did make it more mainstream, but I did say we're going to be swimming with sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're very unscrupulous. I mean, I'm not saying this is why Bitcoin is basically had a very lackluster bull run here. And maybe, you know what? I'll buy into it if we see the most spectacular fall in Bitcoin in the coming months. And basically after, because I think 2/3 of Bitcoin is held in wallets outside of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
If they're able to drain everybody and then squeeze that price all the way down and then they buy it up and then the next run up, Wall Street owns at least 2/3 of it, maybe 80% of it. I think that would settle it in my mind that, yeah, Jane Street is part of a problem or some type of player that is facilitating the financial interest from basically stealing I wouldn't say stealing, but, forcing everyone else's hand into a lower position.
Yeah, I mean, I think the term that they would call it in Wall Street would be market manipulation, right?
Yes.
That's market manipulation. They don't call it theft. This is white collar here, Rick.
They're highfalutin crimes.
Well, and the thing that makes it a little bit more interesting, like let's just add a little bit more of that spice to this recipe here, right? Terraform Labs, for those of you that don't know about Terraform, this was part of what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried and everything that happened with that whole debacle. They're accusing Jane Street of insider trading tied to the 2022 collapse of Terra Labs because they were doing that same thing, because the stablecoin of Terra Labs, and I know we did an episode on this a while back in 2022, I'm pretty sure. We were recording back then, yeah?
Yeah. We did an episode when FTX collapsed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like I was like, man, that sounds familiar. The stablecoin of Terra Luna or Terra UST, I think is what it was called. And then Terra Luna, like they would produce the Terra Luna to make the UST match exactly what was they kept the dollar basically pegged to the UST. And I think it's USDT probably. Not to be confused with Tether, like that's a different thing. But they were performing that same thing with the Terra coin on the back end, and it drove it down to collapse, is what the lawsuit is filing. And then once the lawsuit kind of came about, then all of a sudden that Friday arbitrage stopped. Once the lawsuit was announced. Now, the interesting thing about that too is that Sam Bankman-Fried used to work for Jane Street.
Yeah.
Before he started up FTX. So,
well,
is it ETF bombing or is it sabotage is the question?
Yeah. I don't know. With that guy, I mean, he has a reputation that precedes himself. He's still in jail, right?
Yeah. I think he's got 20 years in prison that he's going to be serving for. Although somehow he posted to Twitter the other day, so I don't know. Apparently they can give him because let's be honest, he's probably not in there with the most hardcore criminals, or is he? He was sharing a cell with Diddy for a while, is that right? Or am I making stuff up?
I don't know. I heard something like that, but I wasn't able to confirm.
Yeah. Probably in there with little Epstein too. But yeah, I don't know. No, that was way before. Epstein died in 2019 now, I think. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We've got a lot to look forward to this month. We've got CPI. We're going to have labor numbers, FOMC meeting. There's going to be Web3 conferences coming up. Is there going to be ETF flow volatility is coming up? And then everything that's going on in the Middle East right now and how that's going to affect markets as a whole. And then what's the retaliation going to look like? Is Iran going to be able to inflict more damage, not only regionally, but globally? Do they have sleeper cells? Is there anything like that that's going to cause uncertainty in the markets? There's a lot to watch out for this month.
Now, it's going to be spicy. Very spicy.
Yeah. So something to watch out for. The only reason why I wanted to bring up the Jane Street thing is, like I said, it sounds like just a nice little ghost story. And we got a villain right now for the plunge in Bitcoin price. Has nothing to do with the normal cycle. We'll have to see how that plays. But anything else you wanted to bring up today?
That's it for me.
That's it for me too. Thank you all for listening. Do stay safe out there and fill up your gas tanks, I guess. That's what Rick would tell you.
Yep. Today.
Today.
Downloading this on the 2nd. It might be too late.
You might be too late. You should have subscribed to us and just gotten it as soon as the episode launched. So thank you guys for listening.
Right.